Inside a packed casino, there is one table everyone keeps glancing at. A single player is winning over and over again. Not a single loss, not even a bad hand. The casino manager zooms in on the surveillance cameras, trying to figure out who this mystery man is. Then he notices the ring, the signature piece the player always wears, and casually spins between his fingers. That is when it clicks. The man does not have a public profile, no clear identification on file, but his name carries weight in every gambling circle around the world. He is a legend, Ko-chun, the man they call God of Gamblers. Right now, Ko-chun is being challenged by a gambler from Japan who wants to test just how real that title is. The first game is mahjong. Calm, precise, almost effortless, Ko-chun dismantles his opponent and takes the win like he is checking off a daily task. Then comes the second round. Dice. The Japanese challenger switches places with his associate, a professional female dice player. One look at her tattoos and the way she handles the cup, and it is obvious she is not some casual weekend gambler. She moves with confidence, like someone who has taken more money than she can count. But this is where Ko-chun shows why his nickname is not just hype. His hearing is unusually sharp. While most people would just hear dice clattering around, he hears patterns, weight shifts, tiny differences in sound. Before she even reveals the result, he already knows what is under the cup. When it is his turn, Ko-chun asks for heavier, harder dice, the kind that feel more like construction materials than casino props. He shakes them with controlled force, so intense that one of the dice actually cracks. The result leaves no room for debate. He wins again, decisively. But the challenge was never really about proving skill. The Japanese gambler has a hidden motive. A gambler from Singapore ruined his father, drove him into bankruptcy, and pushed him to do the unthinkable. Desperate for justice, the man seeks Ko-chun's help. He even reaches a breaking point himself. Ko-chun, despite his cold precision at the table, has a soft heart. He cannot ignore someone on the edge, so he agrees to help. As a gesture of gratitude, the Japanese gambler assigns his best bodyguard to Ko-chun, a former military man from Vietnam named Lung Wu, quiet, disciplined, and clearly not someone you would want to test in a dark alley. From now on, Lung Wu is responsible for protecting Ko-chun until the big match arrives. Meanwhile, in a much smaller and far less glamorous gambling spot, we meet Michael Chan. Michael is the exact opposite of Ko-chun. He is an amateur gambler who loses constantly. And the worst part is, he knows he is going to lose, yet he keeps showing up anyway. It is like someone who says they are done with fast food, then somehow ends up at the drive-thru at midnight. Later that afternoon, Michael is walking with his girlfriend Jane down a narrow street. Out of nowhere, an Indian man appears with two aggressive dogs. Jane is terrified. The man clearly realizes he is in the wrong, but pride keeps him from apologizing. So Michael, fueled by wounded ego and questionable decision-making, decides to get even. With the help of his friend, he sets up a small trap. They place cans near a fence so that if the man trips, the noise will give them a signal. It is petty, immature, and exactly the kind of plan that feels genius at the time and terrible in hindsight. We return to Ko-chun, calmly observing his protege as he plays against a group of professional gamblers. One of them is a wealthy and arrogant man named Nam. As the student keeps losing round after round, the tension at the table starts to rise. That is when Ko-chun decides to step in himself. And just like that, the entire mood shifts. Even seasoned gamblers get a little nervous when the god of gamblers sits down. What makes Ko-chun dangerous is not just his skill, it is his composure. He does not always play it straight. Even when his cards are terrible, he raises the stakes with total confidence. No hesitation, no tells, no panic. The others fold, intimidated by his calm expression, never realizing his hand is actually awful. It is the kind of bluff that would make a poker champion proud. Eventually, the game narrows down to just Ko-chun and Nam. Nam, driven by pride and ego, refuses to back down. He raises the bet higher and higher, even beyond what is on the table. It becomes less about strategy and more about saving face. And as usually happens when pride takes the wheel, it ends badly. Nam loses, and he loses big. Ko-chun understands Nam's personality perfectly. He knows this is not the kind of man who accepts defeat gracefully. So instead of riding home in his usual car, Ko-chun sends his driver ahead and quietly decides to take the train. Sure enough, Nam's men intercept the car. When they stop it, the driver has no choice but to admit that Ko-chun is not inside. He is already on the train, but Nam's reach extends further than expected. On the train, Ko Chun is confronted again. This time, Lung Woo steps in. Calm, efficient, and clearly trained for moments like this, he handles several of Nam's men with ease. It becomes very clear that Lung Woo is not just a bodyguard in name only. Concerned that more attackers might be on the way, Ko Chun instructs Lung Woo to deal with the remaining threats. Meanwhile, Ko Chun decides to get off at a remote stop on the outskirts of the city. That stop just happens to be near the small street Michael often walks through. And by coincidence, the same Indian man with the two aggressive dogs is there again. Strangely enough, the dogs that terrorized everyone else suddenly seem intimidated by Ko Chun. Whatever presence he carries, it is enough to make even angry dogs think twice. But fate has a sense of humor. As Ko Chun continues walking, he accidentally steps into the very trap Michael had said earlier. He loses his footing, tumbles hard, and hits his head on a rock. Just like that, the most legendary gambler in the world is taken down by a prank involving cans and a fence. Not exactly a heroic moment. Michael panics. Guilt kicks in fast. He cannot just leave the man there, so he brings Ko Chun back to his rundown home. They search his wallet, hoping to find identification or a phone number. Nothing useful. No ID, no contacts, nothing that explains who he really is. With no other choice, Michael and his friends decide to take care of him until he recovers. But the accident has serious consequences. Ko Chun wakes up with amnesia. Worse, his personality shifts into something childlike and innocent. The brilliant strategist is gone. In his place is someone who reacts like a confused kid. And instead of protecting him, Michael sees opportunity. Despite Jane warning him not to get involved, Michael takes Ko Chun to a gambling den. After all, Ko Chun still has the last of his savings on him. At the gambling den, Michael confidently tells the boss that Ko Chun is his wealthy cousin visiting from overseas. It is the kind of lie you tell with a straight face and hope nobody asks follow-up questions. The boss sees money, hears rich relative, and immediately agrees to the challenge. He is more than happy to sit down for a card game. There is one thing about Ko Chun that has not changed at all: his love for chocolate, specifically the kind wrapped in shiny gold plastic. Even with no memory of who he is, that sweet tooth is still fully operational. Some instincts fade, some do not. The game begins. Michael and his friend hover on both sides of Ko Chun, whispering advice, telling him to play safe and not raise the stakes too quickly. The boss grows irritated watching this little coaching session and finally tells them to back off and let Ko Chun play on his own. And that is when something remarkable happens. Even without his memories, Ko Chun's instincts are still there. His focus sharpens. His expression shifts. Suddenly, he looks less like a confused child and more like a calculating mastermind. The room grows quiet. Hand after hand, he makes the right moves. Michael and his friends start winning. Not just small wins either. Real money. By the end of the night, they walk away with a serious profit. Now, Michael is no longer just curious. He is suspicious. Who exactly is this man? So they decide to test him. They set up a small experiment with the cards. During the test, Ko Chun somehow demonstrates that he can change the cards in his hand. No one sees how. It just happens. Michael secretly hides two cards, the 3 of spades and the 3 of diamonds. Somehow, the 3 of diamonds ends up in Ko Chun's hand. At the same time, his friend's card transforms into a king of diamonds. There is no explanation, no visible trick, just results. From that moment on, Michael and his friends see opportunity. They take Ko Chun from one gambling spot to another, cashing in again and again. The money starts piling up. For the first time in their lives, they even buy a car. It feels like they have unlocked a cheat code. Of course, like most sudden windfalls, the spending gets out of control. Fancy meals, flashy purchases, showing off just a little too much. The money disappears almost as fast as it arrived. It is the classic story of winning the lottery and forgetting taxes exist. Desperate to keep the momentum going, Michael borrows money from a loan shark named Brother Xing. With no time to waste, Michael brings Ko Chun back to another gambling den. But this time, there is a problem. Ko Chun cannot find his favorite chocolate. Without it, he seems uninterested, almost stubbornly refusing to play. So Michael quickly sends his friend out to buy the gold-wrapped chocolates. When Michael steps out of the restroom, he freezes. Every single chip is gone. Ko Chun has blown through all the betting money, not because he lost his edge, but because he was upset. No chocolate, no cooperation. Apparently, the world's greatest gambler also has the emotional regulation of a toddler without a snack. Michael is furious. In a burst of frustration, he leaves Ko Chun sitting alone on the side of the road. He starts walking home, trying to convince himself it is not his problem anymore. But guilt catches up fast. He turns back. Ko-chun is still there, sitting and crying like a lost child. No arrogance, no brilliance, just confusion. Michael cannot bring himself to leave him like that, so he helps him up and takes him home. Meanwhile, Brother Shing is waiting for his money. Terrified of being chased down for the debt, Michael moves Ko-chun to a brothel owned by a friend, thinking it will be a safe hiding place. Of course, Brother Shing quickly finds out. He sends his men to capture them. A chaotic chase breaks out near a construction site. Michael scrambles across bamboo scaffolding, swinging and climbing like someone who has suddenly discovered survival instincts he did not know he had. For a moment, it almost works. Then reality catches up. He is captured. The next day, Jane goes to Brother Shing to beg for Michael's release. She brings collateral. The god of gamblers himself, Ko-chun. Brother Shing is skeptical. He demands proof. At first, Ko-chun struggles to even handle a deck of cards. He fumbles, unfocused, almost helpless. Then someone hands him his favorite gold-wrapped chocolate. The change is immediate. Once the chocolate hits his mouth, his precision returns. His movements become fluid, controlled. He handles cards with impossible finesse. He even demonstrates skill with a blade so effortlessly that Brother Shing, a hardened loan shark, actually looks uneasy. That is all the proof he needs. Michael is released. The story then shifts to Ko-chun's home. There we meet Janet, his beautiful and devoted girlfriend. Soon after, his trusted assistant Yi appears. But Yi has never truly been loyal. Behind his calm exterior, he has been quietly resentful. Jealous of Ko-chun's success, his wealth, his status, and even his relationship with Janet. With Ko-chun missing and presumed vulnerable, Yi sees an opportunity. He decides he wants everything: the fortune, the power, Janet. When he attempts to force himself on Janet, she refuses to surrender her dignity. Faced with no escape, she makes a devastating choice. She jumps from the room, ending her life. It is a tragic, heartbreaking moment. And as if that were not enough, Yi discovers Janet's voice recorder, the one piece of evidence that could expose him. He burns the tape, destroying the proof of his crime. Just like that, the truth is erased. Janet's death appears meaningless, at least for now. But Yi does not stop there. In a move that shows just how far he is willing to go, he partners with Nam. Together, they form a deadly plan. They will hunt down Ko-chun, eliminate him, and split his fortune. We return to Michael and Ko-chun, who are suddenly confronted by Lung-woo. At first, Michael assumes the worst. A serious-looking former military bodyguard showing up out of nowhere usually means trouble. But before things escalate, Nam's hired thugs arrive. That is when Lung-woo makes his loyalty clear. He steps in without hesitation, shielding Ko-chun and engaging the attackers. Gunfire erupts. Chaos spreads. People scatter in different directions. It becomes clear very quickly that Lung-woo is not just muscle. He is trained, disciplined, and fully committed to protecting his boss. In the middle of the confusion, Ko-chun panics at the sound of gunshots. Still trapped in his childlike state, he runs and hides, trying to avoid the violence. And by pure coincidence, he runs straight into Yi. Yi immediately realizes Ko-chun has lost his memory. No awareness, no recognition. To Yi, this is the perfect opportunity. If Ko-chun dies now, everything becomes much easier. He moves to eliminate him. But at the last second, Michael intervenes and manages to knock Yi unconscious. It is one of those rare moments where Michael actually saves the day. Ko-chun bolts in another direction and stumbles upon Lung-woo, who is struggling and close to being overwhelmed. For the first time, the loyal bodyguard is in real danger. Lung-woo shouts for Ko-chun to grab a gun. Something shifts. In that instant, a fragment of the god of gamblers resurfaces. Not the cards, not the chocolate, but the instinct. Ko-chun picks up the weapon and, with sudden precision, fires back. His movements are controlled and efficient, like muscle memory kicking in. Within moments, the attackers are neutralized, and just as quickly, the brilliance fades again. Ko-chun snaps back into his confused, childlike state. He looks around, startled by what he has just done, and runs off in fear. In his panic, he slips and hits his head. Then, in a tragic twist of timing, he is struck by a passing car. His head slams into the windshield. Everything goes dark. He is rushed to the hospital. The second head injury does what the first one could not. When Ko Chun regains consciousness, his memory returns. Fully, he remembers who he is. The legend, the strategist, the man everyone fears at the table. But when he wakes up, Yi is already there. Yi tells him that while he was gone, Janet fell into deep depression and eventually took her own life by jumping from the upper floor. The story is delivered calmly, almost too calmly. Before Ko Chun can fully process it, Michael bursts in and attacks Yi, furious and desperate to expose the truth. But there is a problem. Ko Chun does not remember the events of the previous day. He does not remember Michael either. To him, Michael looks like a reckless stranger causing trouble in a hospital room. Security restrains Michael and drags him away, treating him like a delusional man shouting nonsense. After recovering, Ko Chun returns home. The house feels empty, cold. Janet used to be there, filling the space with warmth and affection. Now it is just silence. For the first time, the great god of gamblers looks truly alone. Meanwhile, Yi continues working with Nam on their next move. They are not done yet. Nam happens to have close ties with a Singaporean gambling mastermind named Chan Kum-shing, a man who once clashed with the Japanese gambler who had challenged Ko Chun earlier. Kam-shing is ruthless, brilliant, and ambitious. News of the duel between Ko Chun and Kam-shing spreads everywhere. Gambling circles buzz with excitement. High rollers and thrill seekers start placing side bets on who will win this legendary showdown. It is not just a match anymore, it is an event. Behind the scenes, Nam has a darker plan. Once Kam-shing defeats Ko Chun, Nam intends to eliminate him. That way they collect twice. They win the public bets, and they seize Ko Chun's fortune. Clean, efficient, ruthless. To guarantee Kam-shing's victory, Yi orders a special pair of glasses along with customized cards. The glasses use advanced technology that allows the wearer to see through the cards. In theory, even the god of gamblers would have no chance against that. It is like bringing X-ray vision to a poker table. The match is set on a luxury cruise ship, turning the duel into a floating spectacle. Meanwhile, Michael refuses to stay out of it. Worried for Ko Chun's safety, he disguises himself as a waiter and sneaks on board. He tries once more to warn Ko Chun that Yi has betrayed him. Ko Chun listens but remains calm. If Michael is serious, they will talk after the game. For now, Michael is allowed to stay, but only if he keeps quiet and does not interfere. Then the final battle begins. Both men inspect their cards, and as expected, it is Yi, the traitor, who oversees the deck. The cards have already been arranged. The game is rigged before it even starts. This is not a small stakes match. We are talking tens of millions. Ko Chun is backed by the Japanese gambler who still seeks revenge against Kam-shing. The first round begins with a $20,000 bet. Kam-shing, thanks to his cheating glasses, can read every card. When he sees that his hand is weak, he folds immediately. No risk, no emotion. The second round escalates quickly. Ko Chun confidently raises the bet to $1 million. The tension thickens. And once again, Ko Chun loses. 2 rounds down. It looks bad. Now comes the final round. As the last cards are being dealt, Ko Chun suddenly covers his hand at the exact moment an older man nearby lights a cigar. For a brief second, one of the cards is blocked from view. That tiny disruption creates the only blind spot Kam-shing has all night. By this point, the Japanese backers' funds are exhausted, so Ko Chun does something extreme. He puts up his house deed and all his valuable assets as collateral. Everything. Kam-shing, overflowing with confidence, matches the bet. This is it. One hand decides everything. The cards are revealed. To everyone's shock, Ko Chun's final card is an ace. 4 aces. A perfect hand. The room falls silent. In a single moment, Ko Chun wins it all. Kam-shing's fortune vanishes. Years of power and wealth wiped out in one devastating turn. But Ko Chun is not finished. He calmly reveals that Kam-shing's special glasses were designed about 2 years ago. Impressive at the time, but outdated now. Ko Chun has been using the same concept, engineered in Germany, built into soft contact lenses that are even more advanced and far more expensive. In other words, Kam-shing thought he was playing chess with a hidden advantage. He did not realize Ko Chun was already 3 moves ahead. In the middle of the stunned silence, Ko Chun leans toward Yi and quietly exposes him for what he is, a traitor. Then almost casually, he hands Yi a gun. Except it is not real. It is a toy. Yi, thinking he finally has his chance, appears ready to turn the weapon on Kam-shing. Kam-shing reacts instantly. He pulls out a real gun and fires. Yi is shot on the spot. Just like that, the man who schemed from the shadows meets a very public end. And then Lung Wu steps in, weapon drawn, taking control of the chaos. This was never random. Ko Chun planned every move. He did not just defeat Kam Xing at the table, he set him up. The Japanese gambler gets his revenge. Kam Xing loses his fortune and faces prison. And Ko Chun quietly avenges Janet as well. Because the truth is, Ko Chun knew. The recorder tape was not completely destroyed. Part of it survived. He learned about Yi's betrayal and Janet's tragic death long before the final match. The entire showdown was not just about money, it was about justice. After everything settles, the Japanese gambler expresses deep gratitude. Kam Xing is ruined, his empire gone, his future locked behind bars. As for Ko Chun, when he is offered a share of the winnings, he refuses. All he wants is one piece of his favorite chocolate, and he asks Lung Wu to remain by his side as his new bodyguard and trusted right hand. For a man who just reclaimed millions, his reward sounds surprisingly simple. Some people collect trophies, he collects chocolate. At that moment, Michael calls out to him. But now Ko Chun is fully restored. His memory is back. His composure is back. His legendary presence is back. And from his perspective, Michael is just another face in a long line of strangers. There is no recognition. Michael returns to his old life, back to being an unemployed gambler, chasing small wins and big dreams. It feels like the adventure is over. Then unexpectedly, Ko Chun appears again. This time he shows up with Michael's grandmother, gifting her a heavy gold necklace, 50 grams of it. The truth comes out quietly. Ko Chun had been pretending not to remember Michael, at least until his revenge was complete. He needed everything to unfold exactly as planned. And now with the dust settled, he makes a decision. Michael is no longer just a reckless gambler. He becomes Ko Chun's student, his partner, a potential successor. The god of gamblers has reclaimed his throne. And for the first time, he is preparing someone else to sit in it one day. So the moral of the story is always keep chocolate in your pocket. Never trust a jealous assistant. And if a gambling legend forgets you, he is probably just planning something genius.